From there, let's go into comic books and books, shall we? We have icon from the 80s getting a new comic book home. We have a new sidekick getting his very own ongoing series at Marvel, plus the return of Mal and crew. Boom Studios is bringing back a classic storyline. So let's talk about all of this and more. Welcome, nerds, to the comic books and book news for the week. This is where we talk about all things comic books and literature related. So if there's a new book coming out, we're not going to get into individual arcs necessarily, unless there's some sort of like major publisher-wide effects that are going to be related to said arc. We don't really get into individual arcs or individual issues. We just talk about the broader news at large. So without any further ado, let's talk about some comic books and possibly some follow-ups and corrections. As the first subsection, we're going into G.I. Joe finding a new comic book home over at Image Comics under the Robert Kirkman Skybound imprint. We talked last week about the Energon joint universe between G.I. Joe and Transformers, and then like 2 days after that announcement was made, it was then announced that Kirkman now owns the rights to G.I. Joe publishing, and those rights preside exclusively at Skybound, which is under the Image umbrella. So that's pretty freaking sweet. The first book that is coming out for Skybound is going to be written by Larry Hama, as well as artist Chris Mooneyham and colorist Francesco Segala. I am so sorry for mispronouncing those names. But it's good. I mean, yeah, these are all people who have been very intrinsically linked to these comics when they were previously, I think they just came from Marvel, if I'm remembering correctly. But yeah, this is great. This is good stuff. There is nothing bad in this. Hopefully this does breathe the life that people are hoping it will breathe into the G.I. Joe series. We will keep tabs. Let's move on. From there, we do have a trailer this week in the comic books and books section. The trailer is The Fall of X. If you aren't already at least a little curious about this, I think the trailer is doing its job pretty well. Release date and all that is part of the trailer because I didn't write it in the notes, and sorry. Let's move on. From that one trailer, we have some regular ass news. And in regular ass news, we're going to start with SpiderBoy. Really? So, for those that don't know, SpiderBoy first appeared in Spider-Man number 7 recently. Was introduced in the finale of the End of the Spider-Verse arc by Dan Slott, and in Mark Bagley's Spider-Man comic books. The ongoing book is going to be written by Dan Slott, with art from Paco Medina, covers by Humberto Ramos, who is the co-creator of SpiderBoy, and the series will be released on November 1st. So, intrigued, curious, yeah, for sure. I don't know if I'm going to spend money on this, though, but I can see that Marvel is legitimately trying something new that isn't specifically to check boxes and such, so you got to give credit where credit is due. From there, we have Boom Studios announcing a new Firefly book, and it's not what you're thinking, because the last Firefly book that we got didn't have the original cast, didn't have the original crew of the Serenity, if you will. So Boom Studios announced that it's going to be called Firefly Fall Guys, and it is going to be the return of the original cast, Mal and Ship, and all of the people from the series are going to be back in the comic book. It is going to be a 6-part miniseries, and it's going to be released in September. Writer is Sam Humphries, the artist is Jody Perez, and colorist is Francesco Segala. Once again, Francesco. I'm so bad with some of these names. I apologize. Super stoked though. I really like the OG crew. Not gonna lie, that's where it's at. From there, we have Batman Beyond in the news. DC Comics returning with Batman Beyond Future for a new series this summer. The last story featured Terry McGinnis's version of The Dark Knight was Neo Year. The new series is called Batman Beyond Neo Gothic and will feature Terry looking for lost children. And they're going to be introducing some other new sidekicks here. We have Kyle the Catboy, and we're going to get to see old Gotham underneath the rubble because the search for these lost kids is going to take them there. And then there's supposed to be a new villain, I believe, for this as well, but it didn't say who it was. Series is going to be written by Colin Kelly and Jackson Lansing. Art from Max Dunbar will feature covers by Dunbar, Christian Ward, Ezeker, Balin Ortega, and Dyke Ruan. First issue is going to be on shelves July 25th, so we are not that far out just yet. That's what we got on that one. And then we have one more piece of comic book news, and that comes from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. This is not a new book. It's just the continuation of, very specifically, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Saturday Morning Adventures Continued. It is such a long title. But the writer is Eric Burnham. Artist is going to be Tim Lattie. Will be more of this comic book series from IDW. This is just if the 1989 cartoon series didn't end, that's what this is, and it's great. I don't know what else to say. I'm super excited that they're going to continue the book. So yeah, thank you very much, IDW. That's what we got for news and things. Let's talk now about comic books and book suggestion for this episode. Our suggestion is the Chris Claremont late 80s, early 90s X-Men run. You can get it in the Omnibus. Omnibus is a little expensive. You can probably find at your local comic book shop some of the older trades that collect these early books. Just the Claremont X-Men. This is where I feel like my favorite X-Men villain, favorite Wolverine villain specifically, Omega Red, really got fleshed out. A lot of the character traits that we know and love about a lot of the X-Men characters happened in these Chris Claremont books. So if you can get your hands on any one of the arcs, absolutely jump at the chance because it is classic X-Men writing, and that is your suggestion this week. Once again, nerds, this is just the comic books and books section from the Week in Nerddom, which is the much longer video that gets posted over on the main channel, youtube.com/generallynerdy or @generallynerdy, however you gotta find it. That's the main channel. You get the entire, usually around about an hour-long video there that goes into other topics as well, TV, movies, rumors, etc., etc. Go check that out. Before we leave you, though, always remember that if it's generally nerdy, it's probably here.